What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, it is to my surprise that everyone is super excited that I was able to get my first original truck back. I didn't post anything on YouTube. I haven't posted anything, but I did post on Instagram a little teaser video showing that I got it back. And everyone seems to want a story as to how it all happened. And for the new viewers and the new subscribers and the new people following me, I also want to kind of explain something because I know not everyone follows me and has been following me for a while. I'm going to try to keep this video pretty short, but I'm not too sure if I'm going to be able to because I seem to just talk and talk and talk and not stop talking. But I'm going to try to do a voiceover and show you guys the truck as I'm talking and explaining. That way it doesn't seem so boring of me just talking. But I guess let's just start from the very beginning. So I purchased this truck when I want to say I was 13. I was in middle school. I don't remember if I was in 7th or 8th grade, but most likely 8th grade. This was a while back. I really don't remember. And at that time, keep in mind, I didn't have much money. I didn't have a job. I was in middle school. So the little bit of money that I had was just enough to be able to buy the truck. I remember I used I even paid in dollar bills, like single dollar bills, just to be able to pay. And for anyone wondering how much I paid at that time, it was $1,300. So this was back when these trucks were cheap. They were all around the same price, but this one stood out. The color stood out to me because I was like, that's a dope color, the tan. So I ended up going to buy it up in the high desert in Southern California, which from me was about, I want to say like an hour drive. It's funny because I actually got my dad to go with me, and my mom and my sister, my whole family pretty much went just because they were excited to join the adventure with me and getting my first car. So they all went with me, which I think is pretty cool, the fact that they were all there. I obviously couldn't test drive it because I didn't know how to drive stick shift, so my dad drove it for me. It burned oil, but I didn't care because it was, I was in my project at the time. I didn't think of, if I needed it to be reliable, if I needed to get to school. I just wanted a project because in my eyes, I wanted to build a mini truck, a cool mini truck. So by the time I was in high school and I had my driver's license, I had a cool ride to high school. That was all I really cared about. I didn't think of, reliability and all that. I mean, when you're 13, 14, you don't think about that. You just want to be cool. So got it home. Once again, I had no money, so I couldn't buy wheels. I couldn't do anything at all. Like, I couldn't even put gas in it. That's how broke I was. So that's where I know a lot of people are, where's Stone Broke Garage from? Like, what did that originate from? So I think maybe a year and a half after I had purchased it, that's when I started to, I've always tinkered with it, but I didn't really do much. I think the first real mod, I guess you can say I did, was lower it. And I used 4-inch blocks, crank the torsion bars up front, because I knew at that time I wanted 15 by 10s. I used to look at the old school mini trucks back in the 80s and the 90s, and I saw that they had 1510s, so I wanted 1510s. So the only thing I could find, the only thing I could afford was a set of Diamond Racing Steelies. They were the only wheels I could find that were in 6-lug in a 15 by 10. They were like a green, like a military green color, but I wanted 1510, so I didn't really care too much if they were aluminum wheels or not. So I remember purchasing those. I don't remember exactly how much I got them for, but it was like under $100. So I got those, and then I went to the local tire shop where they used to sell tires. I think they were $10 a tire. So I went over there. I got some 195 55s. I remember that for sure. They couldn't get any. They didn't have any used 50 series tires, so I had to get 195 55s. And every single tire of every corner had a different tire. I didn't have a single I didn't have a pair of tires or a single set of matching tires. They were all individual different tires, so they were all a little bit, one stretched nicer than the other, one was taller than the other, one was smaller. They all ran different. After that, what I did is I put the wheels that are on it right now, which are the Centerline Scorpion series. I believe these are billet wheels. They are billet wheels. I would get out of school, I would go home, and I would polish my wheels every single day. I kid you not, for 3 months straight. I just wanted my wheels to be as clean as they possibly could. So I did that. Once again, I didn't have much money, so I couldn't do anything else. The truck was basically a bone stock truck that was lowered on 15 by 10 center lines, and that's all that I really had done to it. And there was a point where I wanted it to be louder. Like once again, I was young. There is no reason to have it super loud, so I cut the muffler off, and then that's when I started getting a little creative and getting into welding. So I ended up welding one of those little cherry bomb muffler resonator things, and after that, I thought I was a fabricator. So every like 2 months, I'd say I'd cut the exhaust somehow and weld it a different way. Around that time, when I started to tinker with my truck, I thought of the idea of, I should make a YouTube channel and an Instagram and just post what I do to my truck, just to see if anyone is even interested. And at the time, I wanted to have a name, and I was like, what could my name be? I don't want to use my name. For those who don't know, I'm Brian Gonzalez. That's my name. But most know me as Stone Broke Garage. And that name came about just being broke, since I was a broke, freshman in high school with a mini truck. And I thought, what is broker than broke? So I looked up what's broker than broke on Google, and legit, I kid you not, Stone Broke came up, and a bunch of different names came up, and that's when that hit me. Stone Broke Garage is the name. It's got to be garage because I just tinker with stuff, and Stone Broke, that's kind of where that came from. I know it's pretty stupid, but you got to think about it. I was 15 and I wanted a name, and that's what I came up with. I've thought about changing it in the past, but it's the name that I came up with when I was 15, and I'm just gonna keep it like that. As embarrassing as it is, I just roll with it at this point now. So that's where that name came from, and that's when I started posting about my truck. And I'll never forget, I couldn't drive, and whenever there'd be meets, Friday, Saturday, Sundays, you name it, whatever it was, I would have to get my dad to drive me around, which, that's how you have to do it, because I didn't want to risk driving my truck and not being, getting pulled over and getting a ticket and getting my license suspended or whatever. The license I didn't even have until I was 21 or whatever. So I would get my dad to drive me around, and my dad was actually cool enough to support me, and my dad would drive me around to meets, and that's how I would go to meets and stuff like that, because I couldn't drive. Once again, I didn't have a license, and I still didn't know how to drive stick shift, so that was another thing. So I slowly started learning how to drive stick shift. I did learn how to drive stick shift in this truck, I should say, which was pretty cool, and it's pretty special to me to say that I learned how to drive stick shift in this. So hopefully, if I ever have kids, when I have kids, I can teach them how to drive stick shift in this truck, because I feel like that would be pretty cool. As soon as I got my license, it was game over. I was driving everywhere you could think of. I would get out of high school and I'd go cruise and go drive and go every single. There was no point to drive. And once again, I could barely afford gas. Luckily, gas wasn't that expensive back then, and this thing wasn't that bad on gas. So I would literally get out of high school, drive to Chino Hills, drive around, just take pictures, and then go home once the sun went down, and then go to school the next day and do the same thing. I would just drive around every single day. So I'll make a video explaining all the memories and everything in case anyone is interested. I'm not too sure. If not, I could just tell you guys in person. When you guys see me, just come up to me and ask me questions about it, and I'll just talk to you guys in person, because not everyone is interested in the whole backstory. I guess let's forget about all that. I explained enough about the past and what this truck means to me and all that. Let's go to how I was able to get this truck. So I sold this truck when I was 16 because I had another car, and at the time I didn't have much money. I keep saying I didn't have much money, and I really didn't have money. I was going to school, didn't have a job, and I had cars. So I still don't even know how I was able to afford having cars with no job, but I somehow managed to do it. I guess it's like that one saying, when you want something, you go for it, regardless of what the situation is. And I wanted a cool car to drive around. Cars are my passion, so I made it work. I'm not too sure how, but I made it work. So I didn't have money, and I had another car, and it was pretty hard to have two cars at 16, and I could barely afford to put gas. So I figured, you know what, I'll sell this one. I've already had this one for a while. Not thinking this is my first original truck. To me, I thought I'll sell this, and I'll be able to afford gas for my other car. So I ended up selling it, and I want to say yes. So it's been sold for about 4 years, 4.5, I think. And the guy that had it, as soon as I sold it to him, he posted it up for sale for like 2 months after I sold it to him. I remember seeing this ad, and I thought, wow, my truck is being resold. Like, he changed a couple things on it. But I didn't care because I had just sold the truck, so I still had no attachment to it. I was just like, oh, whatever. Someone's going to buy it, and someone's going to have fun with it. And then about a year after that, I started to regret it, and it started to hit me that I messed up and I sold it when I shouldn't have sold it. So I've been looking for this truck for about, I want to say, like 3 years. I've looked for it. I tried to find leads, but no one seemed to have any leads. No one could help me. No one has ever seen it. It was just completely lost. So I ended up giving up, and then I would try to, build up the steam again to let's try to find my truck. Let me try to find my truck. I would give up. Try to find my truck. I would give up because I couldn't find it. Luckily, I became friends with a subscriber of mine. He was a subscriber because of this truck, the tan truck. He started following me on YouTube, and his name's Jose. I don't know if he still watches the videos or not, but he ended up buying parts off of my red 720, and we ended up becoming friends and cruising, and now we're pretty much best friends, and we're always hanging out. And because of him, he comes over on Friday nights, and we're always talking and hanging out at my house in the garage. And because of him is the reason that I feel like I have this truck right now. Because if it wasn't for him pushing me to try to find it, I don't think I would have pushed hard enough to find it. I wanted to find it, but I feel like I always ended up giving up just because I couldn't find any leads. But luckily, Jose was able to push me, and it pushed me enough. The way I was able to find the truck is I went through all of my messages when I was selling this truck back in 2017, I think. And I went through every single message and read the whole thing. I think I had about 50 messages. So I went through each and every one of them. And this is how I found. I stumbled across a message where the guy had texted me saying, I'm outside. And I texted him, I'm going. So I knew that this was the message. So I scrolled and read the whole thing. I saw his phone number. So I texted him when I was at work on my break. And he ended up replying like 5 minutes later. I asked him if he still had it. And if he didn't, then if he knew who has it, and blah, blah, blah. And he told me almost instantly, 5 minutes later, he goes, yeah, I still have it. Why, are you interested in buying it? And at that moment, I thought, who can I send? I'm going to send money to you. Like, I want that truck right now. I'll give you the money. But he was at work. I was at work, so it didn't really work out. But he told me, come later. This is my address, and the truck is all yours. I'll sell it to you for what I bought it off of you 4 years prior. So I said, what, I don't care what the price says. I don't care if it runs. I don't care about anything. I know I'll give you whatever you ask, and I want the truck back. I didn't say it like that, but in my head, that's what I thought. So that came around, and I went to go pick it up, and that's pretty much how it went. It wasn't no crazy story. It was just from one day to the other. I woke up that morning not knowing if I was going to have my truck back. It was just one of those things where it dawned on me. I sold the truck on OfferUp, so the messages have to be on OfferUp. I went through all of them, found his phone number, and luckily enough, he still had the same phone number that he had 4 years ago. So that worked out in my favor. So I hope that this cleared up some questions or anything like that you guys had, because I know I kept getting a bunch of messages and people still don't think that I got it. For some reason, people think it was just like an old video that I put together, but I have it. It's in my possession. I have it. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to put it down in the comment section below or message me on Instagram, which is mostly active. But with that being said, I hope you guys found this video pretty interesting, and I hope you guys are excited that the OG Minitruck is back. This should be pretty fun. It's going to be a dope build, that's for sure. This is, from what I think, it's going to be one of the best builds on the channel. So with all that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.